Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and boy oh boy do I love to really get into the weeds on a topic. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence, but we're going way beyond the usual stuff about algorithms and gadgets.
I'm here to help us connect all the dots and really understand what it all means, because what we'll be exploring is how AI is actually driving a global power struggle, like a competition that's completely reshaping the world as we know it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and to really get a grasp on this, we've got some incredible sources for this deep dive.
Oh, yeah?
We're talking interviews with some of the biggest names in AI, entrepreneurs from Europe and China, leading AI researchers, ethicists, and even, get this, a musician.
Wow, that's quite the lineup.
It is. We'll be hearing their perspectives on how different countries are approaching AI and what it all means for the future.
You know what's really interesting to me? This idea that AI isn't just some tool. It's becoming this force that could shift the balance of power on a global scale.
It really could.
Some of our sources even suggest that in just 5 years, AI will be in almost everything we do.
Everything. Seriously.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Makes you wonder, what happens if a country falls behind in AI? Will they just be lagging behind in everything?
That's a good question.
It's not just about convenience or doing things faster anymore. We're talking about economic growth, political influence, even military power.
So, where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, let's start with Europe. They're definitely trying to become a major player in AI, but they've got some serious obstacles in their way.
Big time. We actually spoke with Jonas Androulis, the founder of Aleph Alpha.
Aleph Alpha, right.
They're basically considered Europe's answer to OpenAI. He's got this big, ambitious goal of making Europe a leader in AI. But they're up against giants like Microsoft, who are pumping billions into OpenAI.
Yeah, that funding gap is a real problem for European companies. Like, it's forcing them to focus on smaller, more niche markets, like German industry, for example, instead of trying to compete head-to-head with things like ChatGPT, which everyone's using. It makes you wonder if that strategy will really work in the long run.
Yeah, can they carve out their own space in the AI world that way? That's a big question mark.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got Europe kind of struggling to find its footing. But on a totally different note, let's talk about open source AI.
Okay, yeah. Open source.
We interviewed Thomas Wolf, the co-founder of Hugging Face, which is this platform for sharing AI models openly.
Hugging Face. I've heard of them.
Their whole thing is about collaboration and transparency, making sure AI isn't controlled by just a few powerful companies.
It's a really interesting philosophy.
It is. But then you hear about stuff like, a researcher who actually used an open source platform to develop new chemical weapons.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's scary. And it makes you realize that open access can have some serious downsides.
Definitely a double-edged sword.
It is. So how do we balance the collaboration, the rapid progress, with the potential for someone to misuse it? That's the million-dollar question, especially with something as powerful as AI.
I agree. It's a tough one.
All right. So we've got Europe trying to catch up. We've got the open source dilemma. Now let's shift gears and talk about China. They're becoming a major force in the AI world, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. China's approach is something else. They are intensely focused on learning, adapting, and improving existing technology.
Yeah, they don't mess around.
Not at all. They've built this massive surveillance state using AI. And from what we learned from Jeffrey Ding, he's a China expert we interviewed, their goal is to basically dominate AI globally.
Which is kind of unsettling, to be honest. Especially when you consider they're also exporting that surveillance tech to other, authoritarian governments.
It's a bit unnerving, yeah. It really makes you think, what would a world dominated by China's model of AI look like?
I don't know. Not sure I want to find out.
It's a crucial question, though, right? Would it be a world where efficiency and control are the top priorities, even over individual freedom? And what would that mean for democracy and freedom in the rest of the world?
It's complicated.
Extremely. And it has huge implications for all of us.
It's kind of scary when you think about how high the stakes really are in this whole AI power struggle.
Right.
And it's not even just about who has the best tech. It's about, how that tech gets used and what it does to people's lives.
Absolutely. We can't forget about the human side of all of this. It's easy to get lost in all the tech talk and the global politics, but in the end, it all comes down to how AI is going to affect real people and their communities.
Totally.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting perspectives we got was from Dr. Sama.
Dr. Samus.
She's a rapper and musician,
Yeah.
and she sees AI as like a double-edged sword for artists.
Interesting. How so?
Well, on one hand, it can be an amazing creative tool. It opens up all these new possibilities. But then there's this worry that it could devalue human creativity.
That's a valid concern. Her insights are really important because they touch on this bigger issue about the impact of AI on work and creativity in general. Like, what happens if AI can create content that's technically perfect?
Right.
What happens to all the artists, writers, musicians, all the creative people who depend on their skills and originality to make a living?
Exactly. She talked about how AI could churn out all this generic, average music.
Yeah.
Which could end up pushing out artists who are, really trying to push boundaries and experiment with new sounds. Makes you think, what happens when AI can make stuff that's good enough for most people?
Yeah.
Does human creativity just become like a niche thing?
Fascinating question. Does the value of human creativity go down if AI can copy it? Or does it actually become even more valuable because it represents something truly unique?
Especially in a world that's becoming more and more dominated by AI. And this isn't just about art, right?
Right.
Think about any field where human expertise and judgment are really important. What if AI can suddenly do those things just as well, if not better?
We actually spoke with Max Tegmark, who's a leading AI researcher, and he predicted that we might be heading toward a future where humans are basically economically useless.
Whoa, that's a bit intense.
I know, right? Because AI could potentially outperform us in so many areas. It's a scary thought, and it shows how important it is to really think about the economic and social implications of all of this.
Yeah, it's definitely unsettling. If AI can do everything better than us, what does that mean for the future of work? What does it mean for our purpose as humans?
It's a question that a lot of experts are grappling with. Some think that AI will actually create new jobs and opportunities we can't even imagine yet, but others are worried about mass unemployment and social unrest. It's a huge challenge as we go through this AI revolution.
So, how do we prepare for such an uncertain future? What skills and qualities will matter in a world where AI is everywhere?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's impossible to know for sure, but some experts think that human qualities like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and adaptability will be super important in an AI-driven world.
Yeah, those are all things that are hard to program into a machine. So maybe the key is to really focus on developing those uniquely human strengths.
I think so. And figuring out how to work with AI, not against it.
I like that. It's not about being afraid of AI. It's about using its power while still recognizing its limits.
Exactly. We have to be both optimistic and cautious, recognizing AI's potential to change everything, but also protecting ourselves from the risks.
So it sounds like we're at a crossroads. The choices we make now, both as individuals and as a society, will decide what happens with AI and how it affects the future.
That's exactly right. And those choices are being made right now.
For example.
Well, in Europe, they're taking a pretty proactive approach with things like the AI Act. They're trying to find a balance between encouraging innovation and making sure AI doesn't get out of control.
We touched on that earlier, but can you break down what the AI Act actually is? It seems like a pretty big deal in the whole AI world.
It is. The EU's AI Act is a landmark law that aims to regulate how AI systems are developed and used. It's complicated, but the main idea is a risk-based approach. So they categorize AI systems based on how much they could potentially impact things like fundamental rights and safety.
So the riskier the AI, stricter the rules.
Exactly. For example, AI systems that are seen as an unacceptable risk, like systems used for social scoring or manipulating people, would be completely banned. And high-risk AI systems, like those used in healthcare, transportation, or law enforcement, would have to meet really strict requirements for transparency, accountability, and human oversight.
Makes sense. It's like trying to prevent harm before these technologies become widespread.
Exactly. It's recognizing that AI isn't just some neutral tool. It's a technology that can have huge ethical and societal impacts, and we need to govern it accordingly.
But the AI Act has its critics too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Some people think it's too broad and might stifle innovation. Others say it doesn't go far enough in addressing how AI could make existing social inequalities even worse. It's a big debate, and it shows how difficult it is to regulate a technology that's changing so fast.
It reminds us that there are no easy answers when it comes to AI. There are so many different perspectives and competing interests.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to have open and honest discussions about the future of AI. We need to hear from everyone, weigh the potential benefits and risks, and work together to make sure this technology serves humanity.
It really does feel like we're at this turning point, like everything's about to change. AI isn't just some sci-fi thing anymore, It's becoming a part of everyday life.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment for sure. And like we've been talking about, what happens next with AI isn't set in stone. It really depends on the choices we make, both as individuals and as a society.
That's kind of empowering, but also a little scary. We've talked about regulation and jobs disappearing and all the ethical stuff. It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot, but it's also an incredible opportunity. We actually have the chance to shape this technology, to guide it in a direction that benefits everyone.
So what can we do, like as individuals, to make sure AI is used for good? Because sometimes it feels so big, so complicated,
I think the first step is awareness. We need to educate ourselves. Learn about what AI can do, the good and the bad.
So conversations like this are important.
Exactly. The more we understand AI, the better decisions we can make about how it's developed and used. We can push for policies that reflect our values, support research into AI safety and ethics, and hold those in power accountable for responsible AI development.
And it's not just about, the big picture stuff.
Right.
We can start thinking about how to adapt our own skills and mindsets. Like you said earlier, developing those uniquely human qualities, creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence.
Those are the things that'll set us apart from machines, and they'll be essential for making meaningful contributions in a world where AI is everywhere.
It's not about competing with AI. It's about figuring out how to work with it.
I love that. It's not about fear. It's about recognizing the potential while being realistic about the limitations.
We need to be both optimistic and cautious. AI can be transformative, but we also need to guard against potential harm.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a sense of hope, a sense of agency. The future of AI isn't written yet. We have the power to shape it, to make sure it's a future where technology helps humanity, not hurts it.
Beautifully put. The future is being written right now, and every single one of us has a part to play in that story. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking the tough questions. The choices we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow.
That's a powerful way to end it.
Yeah.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope this conversation has gotten you thinking about the future of this incredible technology and about the role you want to play in shaping that future. Until next time, keep diving deep.